All right, I think we're good to go. So, hi everybody. Welcome to Honey Badger Arcade. I'm gonna be doing a stream. This is partly to test the vertical layout and the shorts to see if it gets a little bit more connection, reaching out to more people. I've heard this is the move, so I'm making the move, as it were. You probably think I sound bad because I do. I have a sore throat today. I'm coming down with something. It's probably not serious. It's a cold. I caught it probably in a public place I was at where there were a lot of kids, and kids are like little germ factories. So I'll be okay, but if I cough during the stream, I apologize. I have the mute button close by in case that happens. So, vertical stream, what's up? Toby. I can't look at the actual like vertical chat. I do see that you're looking there, at least not on my layout here, but you should be able to look at it. So if you are watching on your phone and you like the way it looks, let me know. So I'm here with Arcade Machine, as you can see, and oh, you know what? I don't know if now that I think about it, I don't know if this YouTube account is connected to Arcade Machine, so you can't talk to Arcade Machine without earning coins. I don't think there's any. The setup is not for the coins, so that might be an issue. I don't know. Excuse me. But what I thought I would do today, I'm not going to be doing any gaming or anything, but I thought I would talk about other stuff going on in our culture and how it's related. And I want to respond to some things that people have asked me about really quick while I can. So I apologize again. I'm not feeling great, but I'm trying to be productive. So I got a message from Tachyon Blue asking me if I was going to finish responding to a video that he did with an interview with somebody. And I do. I just haven't had the time to get all that stuff together regarding January 6th and whatnot. But I will come back to it. But all I will say for now is that there is a pretty a good argument for a cultural shift downstream of what happened with the original Gamergate. I know a lot of people don't like to look at it that way. I know they don't really want this to be about politics, but all I will say is I didn't make it about politics. They did. They did it when they started reporting on things the way that they were, when they started lying about their audience, when they started attacking their fans, when they started obfuscating. And the truth is that this is we are in the midst of a cultural revolution, much like what was going on in China. And that's just the reality. So you either believe in that not happening and you want to stop it, and that means you have to maybe you have to spurg out on things that seem trite or irrelevant or silly. But if you don't, that's the means by which they're going to make this revolutionary change. And the truth is that most of these people that are doing this, they really don't care about this stuff. There's a saying that I use a lot: the thing is not about the thing, it's only about the revolution. And this goes back to when I was talking about feminism. Well, I still talk about feminism a lot on Badger live streams. Go check that out, by the way, if you're interested. Feminism is not about women. Feminism is not about men. Feminism is about feminism, which is about the revolution itself, which is why feminism always ends up going after itself in some ways, because that's what it's designed to do. It just tears things apart. It makes our society lower trust. It makes people fear each other. It makes people suspicious of each other. And that's it. It just eats from the inside. And you can expand that to broader leftist ideology in general, whether that's, what people call anti-whiteism or anti what people call capitalism, which is a made up word that doesn't mean anything, but doesn't matter. People use it, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Or whatever it is, but it's important for us to understand that the thing is not about the thing. It's about the revolution, and it's always been that way. And the sooner you understand that, the easier it is for you to refute the people that are trying to essentially destroy the culture. And a lot of times these people are not, they don't know that that's what they're doing. They're just useful idiots, right? They're just participating in it because it makes them feel like they are a part of something important. It makes them feel like they belong. And that's why you get this. And a lot of them, they're mostly educated by Marxists in schools, universities, etc. There's lots of data, lots of papers that have been written about it. You can look up Paulo Freire, you can look up Antonio Gramsci, you can look up Hegel, you can look up like all kinds of guys and ladies have written about this. Judith Butler, you know, and you'll find like it's all the same. It's all the same push. It's just about how to use the tools to do it, and it's about essentially eroding our culture and keeping us apart from each other. I am sick. Yes, I already said that. I have a cold, and I apologize for sounding like crap. But anyway, so let's see how well this works. I'm gonna be looking at a couple of stories, and I want to try to like show you that like this stuff that you see in gaming, because I know some of you guys are here, probably the majority of you guys are here because you like the gaming streams and you like talking about the gaming space and like the stuff going on with Gamergate 2 and Sweet Baby Inc. and stuff. But I want to show you that this is like bigger than that in some ways. You know, you'll see it, and I don't even have like a fraction of everything that's happening in every space, but this stuff is going on everywhere. So let's just like, I'm gonna try and keep this casual. So I'm gonna look at there are staff members getting laid off at Kotaku. So we got some Fandom Pulse. Dumpster fire at Kotaku. Site lays off Levi Winslow and 3 more staff members after Stellar Blade censorship controversy. Less than 2 months has passed since Sleaze Rag, Kotaku's editor-in-chief, has resigned over Kotaku writers being instructed to do less propaganda hit pieces and instead focus on gaming manuals. 4 more staff members have been laid off, one of whom is Levi Winslow, who wrote the recent pro-censorship hit piece, Stellar Blade's Eve is hottest when she's not revealing anything. In March, Fandom Pulse reported that Jen Glennon, who took on the role of editor-in-chief in October of the previous year, submitted her resignation at Kotaku, the video game news and strategy website. Glennon stated in her resignation letter that the management's recent decision to prioritize guides over news led to her decision to step down. Glennon follows Patricia Hernandez, I remember her, that was a classic, who was dismissed in August of 2023 as the second editor-in-chief of Kotaku since Stephen Totillo's departure in 2021. It's the same people as in 2014. Of course it is, though. This isn't surprising at all. Jen Glennon said, in light of careful deliberation, I have determined that the existing management structure and decision-making procedures at GO Media do not align with my values and aspirations for Kotaku, he added. I am firmly convinced that the choice to invert Kotaku's editorial approach prioritizes guides over news is fundamentally misguided considering the current framework of the platform. This decision directly contradicts months of traffic analytics and demonstrates a remarkable disregard for the well-being of the remaining writers and editors employed here. So, sorry. This person is basically butthurt because people don't want to hear about their musings, about their opinion pieces regarding video games and how shitty and sexist and racist gamers are. That's why they're doing this. And he's saying, oh, we got all these analytics though. No, mostly if you get any clicks on your website, it's probably hate clicks. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were several bots that are doing it too. So you can't really rely on the analytics. And if you want to know that for sure, look at, I think there's a guy, excuse me. There's a guy on Twitter that records the activity of bots. And I think it's like TDS something. I'm sorry, I'll have to find it later. But they're saying you have to justify us because popular consensus. This is another typical tactic. They'll tell you that this opinion is shared by a lot of people, therefore it's valid. No, it's not. Like, Kotaku was, I would say, making a smart-ish move by doing that. But the truth of the matter is that I don't think that games, journalism or review websites or guides on like big platforms are even necessary, because gamers freely share their thoughts. They freely share reviews. They freely share secrets, things that they've unlocked, tips, tricks, all kinds of stuff to like make the games more enjoyable. And they do it because they love the game. It doesn't come from a desire to earn a paycheck. So how can you compete with that? Like, if I want to look up builds, for example, in Dark Souls, I can just go to YouTube or I can just go to a forum, and there'll be people talking about builds there, and they'll share their knowledge or their experience like willingly. So Kotaku can't compete with that. And unfortunately, and I do have like a little bit of I guess you could say sympathy for these people. They've been taught that to be a journalist is to be a leftist activist, and that they have to inject their leftist activism into everything. And that's a lie. And they were put into what, like 5 or 6 figures in debt for their like degree. It's a shame, but it is a reality, All right. Is that like Doom music? What the hell's playing? The Honey Trap. Okay. Yesterday, Levy Winslow disclosed on X that he and 3 other staff members were laid off. Well, Geo Media laid me off along with 3 other video folks, all of whom are my good friends. It was a turbulent ride with a shitty ending, but despite the ups and downs, I'm proud of what I've done. Now I'm gonna go cry. Like I said, if you're a journalist and you're really good at what you do, you could just like do something else with that skill set. You could use it somewhere else. Lat QCD says, I exclusively use written guides, so theoretically it would be useful to me, but it's Kotaku. I don't expect their guides to be any good. Dude, you know what that reminds me of? There is this website called Game FAQs, and you could like get guides for like fighting games, because I'm like really big into fighting games, and you get like a guide, and it's like this giant like word. It was almost like a notepad document with lots of like characters being used to like create images and stuff. Man, they were like long as hell too. Like those were so that's just such a product of its time. No bells, no whistles, no pictures. It's just like black text, white background, gigantic notepad document or Word document or whatever. Anyway, so Punky Leash, welcome. They could be leftist without being obnoxious authoritarian. Well, yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, look, a lot of people that create content in our culture are left of center, but as long as like they're firstly not attacking their audience, secondly, they have like a somewhat grounded view of the world that is like relatively like reasonable, and they don't think that everything just comes from consensus or their like strongly held religious beliefs. I mean, like, wokeness is a cult. It's just a cult. There is no dissension allowed. They attack each other all the time. And I think, and I know some people might not like to hear this, but I think it is like the inevitable outcome of liberalism. Now, if we got back to something that looked just like liberalism, I would be okay. I wouldn't be complaining. But yeah, I mean, leftism is authoritarianism. Like, it will be eventually, because it's all about like, how do we get people to be kind? Well, we have to make them, and of course we also get to decide what kindness is. And so it's kind of an inevitable outcome. But I think that as long as I think that the answer is for us to recognize it when we see it. Don't use the language that they use. There's a lot of that too. It's not easy because we've been like kind of born into it, and ridicule them when they're ridiculous. Like, ridicule them when they're ridiculous. And sometimes that just means showing it. And I'll show you guys a video on the stream today that gives an example of what I mean. But anyway, Other Kotaku writers like failed cam girl Alyssa Mercante and effeminate Ethan Gatch didn't take the news about Levy Winslow and other staff members' dismissal well either. G Media, gonna G Media, this sucks. This is like another typical, like, blame the corporation for it type of thing. Kind of sad. So, so like, this whole Stellar Blade controversy has resulted in some good outcomes. I actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but apparently it's #1 in Japan. So Stellar Blade is the #1 game in Japan. And when a game is only on one console, and that's a PS5, which I don't have and I don't plan on buying, but it's a testament to both the popularity of the game, which might be a testament to the quality, but I think that in some ways the Stellar Blade is successful because of people's like desire to reject the narrative around it. I remember when that game was first announced, actually it was a couple of years ago, and this guy did a video on it. I think he was like a journalist or something, and he was like basically trying to say something to the extent of we don't, that's primitive and like so regressive and sexist, and it's not realistic. Women like that don't exist. Like, I thought this was 2020X. I thought we were better than this. It was kind of this concern trolling kind of thing. And I was like, I didn't know what the game was. There was very little footage of it. I think there was like a trailer that may have used in-game graphics, and that was it. And of course they got mad because what they want to fundamentally do is change what the industry looks like, but it's not because they would actually enjoy it themselves more. It's because they like the power they get out of changing something, out of hurting us, the consumer, the people who actually support these industries. Yup, Gamma FAQ still exists. I use it quite a bit still. Just wall of text. Yeah, it is. Good points. Thank you, Punky Leash. Failed cam girl. Ouch. Hard for Stellar Blade to fail when it's only PS5 game. Yeah. Well, there is that, but like, how many people? I remember when the PS5 dropped, like you couldn't even get one. So to have it be the #1 game in Japan when there's all kinds of like PC games, for example, that could be like ranked higher, it's kind of I think it says something. And also, I thought Japan and Korea had some beef. I remember they used to. I remember when Soul Blade came out, or Soul Calibur? No, Soul Blade. The first Soul Calibur game was called Soul Blade. And in the first Soul Blade, there was a character, they replaced Mitsurugi. Is it Mitsurugi? Yeah. With like some other guy that had his same moveset, he had a different name. And it was something about like, it was only for the Korean version. And it was something about the way Korea and Japan, like their relationship was strained. And I mean South Korea when I say that, because I'm pretty sure North Korea, the only person with a console is Kim Jong-un. But anyway, excuse me. So there was that. Let me see if I can find something else here that I thought was kind of interesting. Oh yeah, right. There was this other thing too. So Helldivers 2. Yep, PS5 sold like crazy and there's been no games. Yeah. Well, I guess there is the thirst for anything, right? So Helldivers 2. Big win for the gamers. They got this change, and I think that it could result in some other changes down the line too. Now there's already a conversation happening around things like Game Pass, and how Game Pass is like going to be a bad thing. Because Grums said on his Twitter that it's generally, he doesn't think it's a good idea to put a Game Pass in. And I'm inclined to agree. I think that like people, it's just, I think that like we all have a pretty decent sized backlog. But I'll go into his tweet on that later. But before, when I first talked about the Helldivers 2 controversy with the localization and the mandate that Sony was trying to put, where you had to like create a PlayStation account even if you're not playing on a PlayStation to play the game, and that it blew up in their face because there were a bunch of countries that were blocked from this. If they would do this, it would exclude them, and so people were downvoting the crap out of it. They downvoted it so much, by the way, that they made a cape in the game that is like the graph, like so the graph of the downvotes, which I want to get. It looks pretty funny. But I don't know where it is. So if you guys know anything about the Helldivers downvote cape, let me know. But they did reverse course on it, and they ended up not doing that. But when it was going on, I talked about it and I said, I wonder if the community managers, you know, like what their response to this was, because I think that Arrowhead Studios developers, I think they genuinely like just want to make a good game, and a lot of them are probably liberals, and that's why I'm saying it's okay if you're like a liberal. I mean, I have a lot of liberal values myself. I'm not the opposite of that. But the thing is that if their primary concern is to make a good product, is to tell a good story with their game, is to keep the gamers coming back, is to like, you know, like build something stable that has the potential for growth, then you can't attack your fans. You can't put yourself on a pedestal. This is one thing that these people do. They're narcissistic. They think that they're better than everyone. They think that they're smarter than everyone. And so they will act that out, you know? And if you argue with them, it only, like, for them, it only validates their position because they think you're chuds. Speaking of chuds, by the way, the Discord server for my channel is about ready to go up, but I'm not quite at 500 yet. What I want to do is get to the point where I can have memberships on YouTube, and then I will create the Discord server, and I think it'll be great. But I do have it like almost ready to go. We're gonna like share news stories. We're going to do co-op games together. You know, maybe promote games to each other. Like I can tell you about something that I think is going under the radar that needs attention, something indie, something AA, or maybe even like some larger victories, you know, that may come out. And that'd be a place to share. And we can talk about content that I can also make. I'm talking to these two guys on Discord right now. They're big fans of this game called Homeworld, and they're making a third Homeworld game. And these guys are very concerned. And I did a video on it a little while ago. I don't know anything about it. Like, I don't know anything about Homeworld, so... But they did give me, like, a big file to look at. But as you can hear, I've been under the weather, so I haven't been, like, looking at these things. But I really wanted to do a test today to see how this would work. So I just got that done. I'll probably have to, like, do a show later, and then I think I'm going to spend the weekend recovering from whatever the hell bug this is. But anyway... So yeah, that's what's gonna be for the Discord. Especially if you like you're into something kind of niche or like, you know, that not a lot of people like know about. I want to bring attention to it. So anyway, so there was something with the community managers, and here's a video clip I'm gonna play for you guys. Let me know if you can hear this, okay? Now that I think about it, I don't know if the sound's gonna come out over here. Let me see. Let me play a little bit. Let me know if you can hear it on the people that are watching on the vertical. There's no sound yet.
Yes, it is real.
All right, so the guy just said, yes, it is real. So let me, I may have to do a capture. Add this capture. Capture. Desktop. Probably desktop. Let me just check.
Yes, it is real.
Okay, it's communication. So let me just add this in. Okay. All right. Should come out now. Should be able to hear it.
I just pulled this directly from their Discord. And if we look at the roles in that, they have the role of community manager on the official Discord. That is a real message from the real community manager on the real Helldivers official Discord. The context is that a player said this will kill the Helldivers 2 on Steam, backpedal to lose your player base, and the community manager said, I thought you were refunding and leaving. That's the most tone-deaf shit I've ever seen. Who spits? That's a community manager, official community manager on their Discord. They get no quarter from me. I don't care if it was Sony. This is insane. I have never seen a company shit on their player base actively in a time like this. That's insane, dude. That's toxic as shit. Nah. Nope.
So where do these people get off? This is what I mean. It's like it's ultimate arrogance, bro. Ultimate arrogance. Advocate. Hello, Great Indoors. Should have made a F Sony cape. Community managers called 99% of the problems they're hired to solve. Yes. Yeah, isn't it crazy? They're literally called community managers, and their whole thing is essentially disrupting the community. So this community manager, you would think that their job is to try to keep the community itself healthy, and that, like, you know, you want people to, like, get along. And Helldivers 2 is not like Call of Duty. It's a cooperative game. Like, working together is encouraged, you know, through the gameplay. So, like, and it's not toxic, like, not that I know of. I've played it plenty of times. There seem to be, like, some Japanese players have found, like, some kind of weird, like, infinite grenade exploit. And sometimes I get killed, but I don't know what that's about. But, like, I don't think that's toxic. And it's like, what am I gonna do? Like, tell them something? Like, they're Japanese. Like, they speak, you know, moon person. So, anyway. You never seen that? I've seen that shit for a decade now. Community managers, yeah. Well, is what I'm saying is that it is very it's like their design, what they're supposed to do is literally the opposite of what they're doing. They're trying to piss people off. They're trying to drive the customers away. They're hostile. Like, they're not constructive by any means. Nothing toxic about big brain Japanesu. More and more companies are ignoring the public in favor of government subsidies. Yeah. They're community terrorists. There you go. That's a good way to put it. All right. So, is there nobody watching on the regular live? Oh yeah, no, we got people on the live. But I do see people in the verticals as well, although nobody's watching right now. Maybe this is for, like, the vertical apparently is for the doom scrollers. People are just kind of, like, drifting through the YouTubes with nothing to look at. All right. So, there was something else I wanted to show. Find it. Drums. Right. Here we go. We're going to look at this really quick. Okay. Drums tweeted this. There are two reasons. This is a screenshot. I'm going to read through it. From Brad Hildebrand. There are two reasons why all those Bethesda studios close, and neither of them have anything to do with Bethesda directly. Game Pass and Activision. The biggest paradox with Game Pass is that basically every game that launches on the service badly misses its sales goals. Makes sense, though. Why pay full price to buy a game when you can play it for free as part of your subscription? This is accounted for somewhat by attributing portions of revenue to top-performing Game Pass games every month. But there are factors working against games, namely the fact that most games don't stay at the top of the charts for more than a month or two, and also that Game Pass growth has stagnated. So games like Hi-Fi Rush, which is incredible, mind you, gets a very small bump in revenue from being the hot Game Pass game for a month, then it falls off a cliff when everyone moves on to the next thing. Poor Redfall had it even worse since it launched so rough, it never had a chance. The system was fine for a while when Game Pass was growing like gangbusters, but now it's slowed way down and the amount of revenue it's attributing to games isn't keeping up with the budgets to make them. But all that wouldn't have mattered even 3 or 4 years ago because back then Xbox was basically a rounding error on Microsoft's books. The division made some money. More importantly, it didn't cost that much and other parts of the business easily covered the gap. Then Xbox went on a buying spree and spent a lot of money on Bethesda, but orders of magnitude were on Activision. now the eye of Sauron has turned, and Xbox is expected to start making that $70 billion back, or at least cut expenses to the bone and then some while they try. That brings us back to Game Pass. So far, the big bets on driving new subscriptions, Redfall, Starfield, haven't spurred nearly enough growth, and there's not much on the horizon that's likely to restart the momentum. The best bet is Call of Duty, but do you really risk the guaranteed sales revenue that franchise brings by putting it on Game Pass on day one and potentially lose massive sales? Yes. I don't know what the plans are, but either you put it on Game Pass and lose money, or you don't and the subscribers revolt because they think it's what they signed up for. Call of Duty will be fine though, as will the other mega studios with huge IPs. But you're seeing the impact. All those smaller studios making really interesting games are going to fall away, simply because as good as games like Hi-Fi Rush are, they're never going to make enough money to make up that $70 billion hole that Xbox now has to dig itself out of. Yeah, this is a conundrum. And the thing is that, like, it doesn't help that Starfield had a bunch of woke garbage in it, and it came out with a bunch of bugs and issues. Not that I was interested, fucking pronouns. And nobody wants that. Like, and I think that what needs to happen, though, what I've been saying for a while, is the budgets for games has to get cut down a lot. If a game is inexpensive to make, then you're gonna get more out of it. You got to stop worrying about these giant, like long-reaching stories. You got to stop worrying about getting actors into doing voices and motion capture for the games, and you got to stop trying to get these like writing firms that are only interested in putting their fan fiction into a game. Like, you have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think again, one of the reasons why I think fewer people involved is better. So like, you have a small team of people, like, for example, Miyazaki, the guy behind the Soul series, he had a small team of writers. He was probably the lead guy. He knew what he wanted to do, and he did it, and it works very well. He took inspiration from Berserk, which is a great anime or manga, and he just used that as a launching pad and made his own thing. And I think it could work that way. Kaiser Durden, good morning. I'm in horizontal, okay. Great indoors. I would like to see games finished on release day, only updated for small bug fixes. Yeah. Lat says, if a game is expensive enough that you need to hire a community manager, it's too expensive. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of fat on these particular beasts. You need to cut that out, man. And I'm telling you, it'll work out well. I mean, Helldivers is already like a AA game, and you could get rid of some of these community managers because they suck anyway. And it's like, it's more than that though. It is the ideology. Like, you're probably going to run into people that have these belief systems no matter where you go, no matter what. So what you got to do is you got to be able to root it out when you see it, and you got to like nip that shit in the bud right away. Okay? So I just need a moment to spray my mouth. Anyway, so Grum said, vindicated once again. When Microsoft acquired Blizzard, I remember that, I explained how Game Pass is not sustainable and is bad for developers. I was endlessly attacked for this and told it was great. It was right then, and now here we are. I was right then, and now here we are with Microsoft not able to sustain the studios they acquired and closing many good companies. So this is like a conversation I think is really important to have. Like, if you want to see the industry grow, it's got to become way less corporate and way more creative. And not in this woke bullshit, like, art as money laundering kind of creative way. I mean, like, legitimately, like, people like exploring interesting ideas. Hell, you can even like do it with like the right kind of like the right IP. Sometimes that works as well. So I'm on Grums' Twitter. I'm gonna look through it. So like, for example, a lot of times, like, when you take an existing IP and you try to make a game based on it, a lot of times it doesn't work out. But I think that's because of studio involvement, a lack of like creative like ability or talent by the team behind it. But if there's a lot of love, a game even that's like, you know, buggy and glitchy, that's inexpensive when it comes out, will work. Like, and it doesn't have to be like full on based on it. But I give an example. The one I like to give the most is the Friday the 13th, the game, which is based on the slasher films, Friday the 13th, right? And I got it like a year after it came out. So I didn't get it right away, but I got it a year after it came out, and I got a copy for myself and a copy for Lindsay. And we started playing it online, and at the time, a lot of people were online playing it. And I can't tell you how much fun we had playing that game, even though, again, it was janky in ways because it was a smaller studio. But you could tell the people that made that game were so in love with the property that they did a really good job. Now, after that, they made a game called, it was a Predator game, and you could play as, it was another asymmetrical multiplayer, and so one person would play the Predator, and like 4 people would play the fire team, and they have to go to the jungle, and you know, you have to like accomplish missions, and that's what the fire team's job is, to accomplish the missions and then get to the chopper, and the Predator has to kill all of the fire team members and like get their trophies. And that one was really good on paper, and I liked it for a while, but there was a problem, was the there weren't enough maps, because what they should have done was they should have, like, it's all like different jungle maps. What they should have done was had different kinds of maps with more variety, but they were trying to like take from the movie, and the only movie they seemed to be using was the original film. I would have done a city one to base on Predator 2, and maybe like one of the other Predator movies, maybe Predators, where it's on the planet, you know, I don't know, but that could have worked, and it was pretty good. Now, there was also a really great game from way before. Alien vs Predator was probably one of the most fun multiplayer games of the time, and it was really great, because like all three you could play it, a Colonial Marine, an Alien, or Predator, and they all had different like gameplay, so you had to like master all of them. The Xenomorph was like probably the hardest one to play for me at the time. But yeah, like if you can do it, you know, like if there's a property that exists and you can adapt it well and you have a lot of love for it, it'll work, you know? Like I think that some games, like there was this Terminator game, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a multiplayer, maybe a co-op game, like PvE, you know, and you're part of the resistance and you're fighting the Terminators, and that one is supposed to be pretty good. Alien Fireteam, which I also played for a little while, is pretty good. So yeah, you can definitely do it, you know. It's just you and the game, no MMO BS. Yeah. Alien versus Predator, one was intense, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, you can make it work. You know, Warhammer Vermintide 2 was a AA game, very good too. I'm enjoying Bolt Gun right now. It's you know, totally fun. There's plenty of good stuff out there. But I think that like the simplicity of those is I think that's what the thing about these another thing about these woke people that are involved is they think that gaming is really important as an art form, and that means it's important to send a specific message, and they've been pushing this stuff for a very long time. I remember talking about these things with Sawa Grape Sama, who also has a channel where she streams games, and you should check her out. And yeah, like we would like look at games where it was like, this is what it's like to be a woman, this is what it's like to be trans, and all this shit that nobody wanted. This is like years ago. This is 2014, you know. And it's like, look, man, you can make that game if you want, but like if it doesn't sell, you know, don't get upset. It's just like, it's normal, you know, to have low expectations is what I'm saying. So anyway, I wanted to see if Grums said anything here that was oh yeah, so there's this like game called what is it? Hades 2. I never played the original. But I had a feeling that Hades had like a cringy community, and apparently it does. Very, very cringe. And they made Hestia, which is one of the goddesses, for Hades 2, and of course she looks awful. So this is Hestia according to the Greeks. Hestia according to America. Not America though. We're not down with that. That's basically, again, this is the Hades art people, you know. And then Hestia according to Japan, which I don't know what anime that is, but it looks really familiar to me. Is that, what is that, Fairy Tail or something? I don't know. Okay? Forgive me. Anyway. So of course they're doing that, and I would hope that people would respond to it. I don't know. But uggifying women is kind of par for the course, right? B is just doing the usual American equals woke. Yeah, like, we don't want this. Please don't associate this shit with us. We didn't ask for this. Grums also says Sony is not going to stop pushing for PSN requirements. They have to bolster PSN numbers to show growth in a time where profits are coming off record highs. It's sad, but Ghost of Tsushima has been out for a while, and there will be not much consumer reaction at this point. Be alert for future attempts. That's where you can push back. Well, again, at least we know it before it came out for PC. But yeah, I think that this whole thing about like signing up, I think that should be gone across the board. I don't want to do it for EA. I don't want to do it for Ubisoft. I don't want to do it for Microsoft. Like, they all do it, you know. And I think it just makes me feel like it doesn't belong to me, really, or that my owning this thing is very conditional. I think they should do this another way completely. Stellar Blade is number 1, awarded platinum on Famitsu with a score of 9989, and also reached number 1 on Japanese sales rankings. Not that there's a lot out there, but I guess that's a good thing. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. Wokeness is anti-American. Yeah, it is. Right. So it's not American, it's anti-American. So let's not compare it, please. I'd appreciate it. All right, so something else, I was gonna try. I think that somebody. Oh, right. It was. I believe that. Let me see if I can find it. There is a guy named. Is it here? This is That Park Place, run by Jonathan Trent. Yeah, community manager Spitz fired, not fired. That's the guy who said, you know, I thought you were returning and leaving. Spitz, I think is his name. He's not retired, or he's not fired. He's just been demoted. So he's no longer a community manager, but he still works the company. So important to point that out. Microsoft shuts down Redfall developer Arcane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, and more. Yes, there's like gutting various studios. Remember though, these people, like, a lot of times these developers, they like leave these big companies and they go off to like build their own thing. So just keep an eye on those guys and see where they end up. You know, like, to draw a parallel to something else, Pixar, the people behind Toy Story and stuff, they underwent like a big change over time. I think it was a byproduct of the Me Too movement, just like what was going on in the animation industry, where a couple of the guys that started the company that had been there from the beginning left, and now they've gone to Paramount, I think, or Skydance Studios. And I mean, like, I haven't seen anything out of them yet, but they did produce one animated film called Lucky. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great, but maybe we'll get like Brad Bird and John Lasseter. Like, these guys are like, you know, Brad Bird was like one of the best. Like, story-wise, he gave us The Incredibles, he gave us Iron Giant, just like a great creator. But he was out. And I don't know like who they replaced him with or whatever, but Pixar has not really been They haven't been doing it like they used to. I think the last thing I saw from Pixar that was really good, let me think. I don't remember the order of these things, but maybe it was Up. Maybe it was The Incredibles. That's like my favorite Pixar movie. I did not like The Incredibles 2. That was kind of like feminist garbage, in my opinion. What else did they do? Oh, Big Hero 6. No, that's Disney. That's not Pixar. The lines are blurry. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while. Like, Soul wasn't great. Inside Out wasn't great. Not in my opinion. A lot of the stuff was just kind of meh, you know. And I think that it's going to get worse. So, I said that to say that, going back to this, these developers, I don't know about Redfall, I heard bad things about anyway, but like Hi-Fi Rush and some of these other ones, if they shut down those studios, those guys don't disappear. They're gonna just start something else, and I hope they do. I hope they do. And I hope it goes the way of, like, you know, something good, not like whatever Hideo Kojima's up to these days. So, let me see. Oh yeah, this is this old? This is more Alyssa Mercante stuff. She wants to stay relevant so bad. When did this come out? May 7th, so that's like a couple days ago. Mercante took to X on May 6th in the wake of Sony reversing their policy to require gamers to connect their Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account in order to play Helldivers 2. Sony announced the policy change via their PlayStation account on X. Quote, Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers 2 account linking update. The May 6th update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. PlayStation added, we are still learning what is best for PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Thanks again for your continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated on future plans. And I think for that, they should get credit. I think that's a good thing to do. I think it's smart. And it's also like going to keep them from getting like tremendous lawsuits, because if you bought the game and you're in a country that's like in region blocked by Sony for whatever reason, you're just screwed. So that was just a bad idea. To even like table this idea was a bad idea. So I'm glad they didn't end up going through with it. And I'm glad that we won, because that is what we won. So Mercante, who just doesn't like it when gamers get their way, apparently, wrote on X, quote, really don't love the recent collection of events in this industry that are emboldening its worst behaved actors. If companies were actually considering / talking about the hate movement bubbling right now, it'd be a lot harder for them to co-opt everything. Mork Korn really gonna tell you him sending harassment towards community managers is why Helldivers is fixed, and you should give him more money so he can goon to women who he could have technically fathered, but what do I know? So, this is like one of the things that I gotta say about Alyssa Mercante. This is a gift. Because she's telling you what she really thinks. And their smugness and their sense of like self-worth and self-importance always gives away what they really believe. So, this is what I said before. The issue with this is not about ethics. It's personality. These people are cult members that hate their audience. And, you know, this actually goes back to, you know, the guy who worked on IGN. Okay, you guys remember Mass Effect 3, right? And the ending of Mass Effect 3 was a disappointment. I never played Mass Effect, so it didn't really affect me, but I knew about this problem because people I knew were really into Mass Effect. And when you got the color endings, you know, what do you want? Your red, your green, or your blue, or whatever the colors were. People were pissed off about it. And a guy at IGN, whose name fails me right now, he basically made a whole video talking about how this is just an example of gamer entitlement. And it was intended to dismiss gamers, people who gave this company money for the product, like people who put money in your pocket, right? And And so, like, you know, I was against the very idea of this being like a entitlement thing, because if you are a customer, like if you go to a restaurant and you buy some food and you don't get the food you asked for, but you get something else, you have a right to be pissed about it. They're not going to say, well, I guess you're Mr. Entitled. Well, no, I paid for this. Like, I have an expectation. And you know that the Mass Effect ending is bad. Like, nobody liked it. So it was lazy. It was either rushed out or whatever. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys played Mass Effect 3. Maybe you can tell me in the comments. Hell, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you love the ending. I don't know. But from what I can gather, there was a lot of anger around that, and there was disappointment, and it was dismissed because there's this, like I said, there's this like elitist attitude that comes from these people. Yeah. Consumers have the right to be entitled. Activists don't, that hate the consumers don't. Yes. But that's right. It is because as customers, as consumers, we have power. And activists hate that because partly it justifies like the very notion of property rights, which they hate. They hate property rights. They're communists. They don't think that you should have an opinion on what you get. They think that you should be grateful no matter what. And they get to treat you like shit, and you still have to be grateful, right? You're still expected to be grateful. So this is a very important thing that we have to like keep in mind, right? These people, they're the ones that have entitlement, honestly. So and Alyssa, like, so Helldivers 2 has nothing to do with her. Okay, I know, as far as I know, she didn't do a review on it. She didn't write any articles on it. Like, it has nothing to do with her at all. She wasn't a part of the conversation. She's just pushing herself into it, probably because there's an opportunity there to, like, you know, become Anita Sarkeesian famous. And I gotta say, you know, obviously guys don't harass these people because they live on that. I'm gonna get to that in a second. They freaking thrive on harassment. They thrive on just interaction, because they'll call it harassment. It is their lifeblood. They love it. So I'm gonna ask that you not feed the beast, as it were, and leave them alone, because it's the best thing. I mean, I'm gonna ridicule her from over here. She'll probably still call it harassment, but yeah, like, it's what they feed on. So they're elitists. They're smug. They feel like they're better than everyone, smarter than everyone, and they inject themselves into shit. I mean, if Alyssa Mercante keeps it up, she'll probably end up speaking at the UN. And if you think that's ludicrous, then you haven't been paying attention. That's literally what happens. So she's saying that basically the customers should not get what they want because they're mean to her on Twitter sometimes. And there's more. Let me see. I spoke about this on @official_SDGC, but it's as simple as releasing a joint letter signed by the bigwigs that denounces harassment of CMs and devs and confirms diversity is a natural component of modern gaming and here to stay. And I think that's like a shrug, like, oh, what, isn't that obvious? No, she wants them to bend the knee. That's what this is. When she says, look, it's just a simple thing. Just get the people that have the most clout to denounce harassment and of community managers and developers. I don't think they were harassing them. I don't even know how you define that. And confirm, this is the most important part, confirm that diversity is a natural component of modern gaming and it's here to stay. So she doesn't, you see what she's asking for? She wants people to bend the knee to this ideology. Like, join the cult, bend the knee to the cult. Okay, and if you don't do that, then you're the enemy. And then she also tries to say, well, it's so simple though. All you gotta do is apologize. All you gotta do is bend the knee. I think that people have had enough of that. We've been seeing this for a long time. You know? Don't love to see the Arrowhead CEO replying to the same woman who thinks the United Nations is making your games woke and is making Pepe Sylvia boards about it. If more people were full-throated talking about these chuds, maybe that would not happen. So she's trying to say this thing that's happening is not happening. So let's refer to Savvy, who was basically talking about the connections to the United Nations. This is like, if you don't agree with this, I don't know what to tell you. This is like common knowledge now that these like government organizations, the Department of Homeland Security, the United Nations, the FBI, the CIA, they are all like working with game developers and gaming publishers and corporations to monitor and nudge gamers, like basically, and not just in gaming, like in every cultural space. It's all about that. It's about control, and it always has been. And she's like, oh, that's so ridiculous. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you loudly defended your community managers, Asylum Barbie would, quote, know where you stand and would probably not be politely pinging you. Who the hell is Asylum Barbie? I don't even know. As expected, Mercante attempts to spin her own narrative by omitting crucial details, specifically that the Helldivers 2 community management team employs a Discord moderator that accused Kern of sexual assault. Helldivers 2 Discord moderator, that's a form of harassment, by the way. This is another thing you guys should be aware of. So I've been like, on Badger live streams, I talk about false allegations a lot and how they are used to destroy people. And there are plenty of really good examples of this. You might have heard the story about the baseball player who had a one-night stand with a woman that tried to accuse him of something really nasty so that she can get that bag, and it destroyed his career, even though he had all the receipts and he cleared his name and everything else. But he has to play for like teams in other countries now because he can't get back into the major leagues in America. There are the entire animation industry did an open letter making a blanket accusation of various members and various studios. No proof, no evidence, no nothing, but those people got fired. And they lost their jobs, and it was taken over by women who actually had a specific agenda to make the animation industry itself 50-50 women and men. But if it was a little bit more than 50, that'd be okay too. In favor of women, that is. Brett Kavanaugh, they tried to make allegations against him to destroy his chances of joining the Supreme Court in order to tarnish him. And they did so viciously. It was covered on a 24-hour news cycle. He was crying. I mean, when you make allegations like this, it is abuse. It is abuse, right? It is torture to do that. This is what Mao has talked about. Even right now, and some of you guys aren't going to want to hear this, but Donald Trump is being put through the same ringer. We got the whole Stormy Daniels thing, and she literally has admitted that she's just being vindictive, and she just wants to destroy him. You got E. Jean Carroll, who is just like completely like addle-minded, that's just like making shit up, and everyone's just taking her seriously, and the court's ordering him to pay her money. You know, probably because he said he wouldn't do anything. We've got Carl Benjamin, like years ago, who told Jess Phillips, an MP of the UK, that he would not even rape her. He said he wouldn't rape her, and that's never left. Like, it's been haunting him ever since.
GCD92 sounds like someone's got strong opinions about screen orientation. Everyone's got their own preferences when it comes to gaming. Just do whatever feels right for you.
Thank you, Lat. Thank you, Arcade Machine, for that wise commentary. You are truly a font of wisdom. Wait, why is she squinting? Is there something wrong with her? Hold on a second. I have to check something. I'm gonna test her out.
This is a test me say.
That's weird. Well, whatever. No, it's okay, Lat. She's programmed to do that. Um, checking something. Oh, weird. That's okay. Anyway. So, yeah, this is a way that you can abuse people, and women are very good at doing that. It's just the truth. So, Fracus Maximus, the AI is out of control. Welcome to the chat. All right. Helldivers 2 Discord moderator Purple Plegion, I guess, or Purple Legion, maybe Perp Legion, made the accusation in the Helldivers 2 Discord, writing, quote, someone who sexually assaulted many people he worked with lost his position as CEO. Now is a far-right influencer who had people attack more than one of our CMs and their families. Remember when, sorry. Do you guys remember when Blizzard, there was all these like allegations of like inappropriate behavior in the Blizzard studios, and it was like a frat boy environment and stuff like that? That might be related to this. So Mark Kern is being lumped in with that. And the truth is, I don't know how true that is. I mean, again, I'm generally skeptical of allegations without evidence. I'm generally skeptical when people come forward and they say, oh, I had this really bad experience, you know, but they didn't go to the police, they didn't record anything, they didn't take any pictures. They got nothing but their word. And we're supposed to take their word. Hell, you know that that Dan Schneider documentary about Nickelodeon called Quiet on Set? Have any of you guys seen that? I watched the whole thing, and honestly, I don't think Dan Snyder's guilty of anything except being a little bit like over the top. Maybe a bit creepy, maybe. You know, but I don't see any damning evidence, and everyone's acting like he did something that like something completely terrible. And I watched all 5 episodes. The only person in that whole series that was actually experiencing abuse was the young man on the show. I think his name, like, the guy from, is the show called Zach and Cody or something? I don't watch Nickelodeon, but the guy from that, he was actually molested by, like, you know, one of the, I want to say it was like a costume guy or something that would occasionally make appearances on the show. And he was repeatedly, like, you know, molested. But they bring out these women to talk about how, like, uncomfortable they were. And the story becomes about that instead of the actual abuse victim. Like, the actual abuse victim. Who basically, the guy who did that to him he did go to jail. But this is what I mean, like, when they have this, the media is really good at like making you feel a certain way by using, you know, certain kinds of footage, music, tone, whatever. But if you're like objective and you take a step back, you just look at what the claims are, you realize for that show, that Quiet on Set thing, most of it is bullshit or it's just whining. And then when you put that in contrast with the one guy who actually did experience abuse, okay, it's actually more infuriating because you're taking this guy's actual experience and you're using it to victimize like the women on the set more by saying, well, look, if it happened to him, can you imagine what happened to these ladies? No, because there's no evidence. You haven't said anything. You just said, oh, I felt like the token black on the show. What the fuck does that mean? How do you prove that? Oh, well, he had me working long hours. Or you know, like, there'll be other things too, like on that show they'll leave out the fact that it was the mother of some of these people. Like, I don't remember her name. I'm sorry, I don't watch Nickelodeon, but there's a blonde chick on there that wrote a book about like how she's glad that her mother died. And it's all about the ways that her mother abused her child because she wanted her child to be famous. And it's like, yeah, I could see that. Like, that's literally going on with Jazz Jennings right now. But the story in the show is not about that. It doesn't even talk. Her mother gets a passing remark because it's not convenient. Because they got Sachi Cool, or whatever her name is, the feminist that basically came after us like years ago, on there talking about how this is all part of patriarchy. So if it's about patriarchy, the mom can't be the, you know, an offender here. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this way of thinking informs every single claim they make. It informs everything they say. It informs everything they believe, to the point where it distorts reality. Like, you can't even look at something that is true and just see it for what it is. They have to like tell you, well, yeah, sure, the boy was, I mean, he got like anally raped a bunch of times, but like, can we talk about the women that were like, I don't know, in like an extra cold set, or had to work 12 hours, or the one time that Schneider yelled? Can we talk about those things and not like the boy that was like sodomized repeatedly? It's a guy, you know, man, they love it. Anyway, I gotta take a quick break. I gotta grab something to drink. My throat's dry as fuck, so I'll be right back, but don't go away, okay? All right, I'm back. Jeanette McCurdy, thank you. That's right. Yeah. And you know, there's like I said, there is some stuff that's questionable, but not a lot that's actionable, except for the guy who got raped. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? I don't have his name. I'm gonna look it up. Hold on a second. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna get it for you. Okay, we're gonna do all quiet on set cast. Dark Side of Kids TV. Drake Bell. Drake Bell. So I'm gonna put it on screen so you guys can see it. Okay, we just switch back to the game here. So okay. On the far left there, I think, is Drake Bell. He was a real victim. Okay. Some of these guys weren't even on the show. Like, I watched the whole thing, and some of these guys were not even on there. And from what I can tell, the only person who was actually a victim of abuse, just like if you watch it, they tell you this. So this is not like I don't have to read between the lines. Like, they tell you this is what each of these actors that came forward had to say, and most of what they had to say was just bitching and moaning about how, you know, they're no longer relevant because they're no longer child stars. They can't get work anymore. They felt like, you know, they were dismissed. They're tokens, etc. And if you know like the business of acting, if you know people who are in the business, they're constantly trying to be relevant. They're trying to get work, right? They're hustling. I remember Stefan Molyneux had a guest on that was an actor. I don't know why he had this guy on, but he used to work on soap operas or something. And even then, he was still pitching himself for some reason. You know, like he was talking about like the work that he can do and stuff. And it was like, dude, you're not at a, you know, this isn't an interview. You're just supposed to talk about this philosophical stuff. And it felt like a waste of time, you know. I miss when shows had timetables, man. then I can kick myself for missing them. Yeah. Yeah, Jeanette McCurdy had a very abusive mother. And that wasn't talked about on the show at all. I feel like I'm turning into Robert Kennedy. All right. What else we got? Let me see. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Doctor Who, because I want to make a point about intersectionality, and I have a video as well that's sort of different but related. So this is from the independent.co.uk. Spare me the white feminism. Nkuti Gatwa deserves to be Doctor Who star. Different identities being pitted against each other doesn't help anyone, yet I saw disappointed comments because the Doctor is no longer a white woman. So Jodie Whittaker, the first female Doctor, is no longer the female Doctor. Now we got a gay man that is a Doctor. And of course, I'm not even going to the article because I already know it goes way too long. It's not necessary. I want to use this to make a point about intersectional feminism. Intersectional feminism is, it only exists as a means to, like, for people to seize clout from each other. And it just creates a ranking system, right? And so Lola Christina Alau is basically saying, I hate white people more than than like men. That's it. Like, I hate white people more than men. But it probably helps that he's a gay man. That takes it a step back. She would probably still choose the bear though over him. But again, this is I'm only pointing this out because it doesn't matter what you do. It's never enough. It's never satisfactory, right? People will complain, and you just have to stop trying to appease them. You should just ridicule them, laugh at them, and move on. Like, this is laughable. No one's gonna watch this shit. It's not gonna be successful. The show is dead on arrival, I think. Doctor Who hasn't been good in a long time, so it's a shame, but it is what it is. I think I was never a huge fan of Doctor Who, but the last time I was kind of into it was because my friends were showing it to me, and they were bringing he would bring me the episodes to watch. And that was when I was living in Chicago, and I think Matt Smith was the Doctor. And even then, I was getting a little tired of Matt Smith's Doctor because he was so, like, OMG random. And I just didn't like that. It didn't make for engaging television. The whole show was OMG random. It was like, oh, here's a guy on a sleigh with whales. Whoa, dude. That's crazy random. I don't know. It's not for me. I know that Doctor Who's been, it's like the longest running science fiction show, I think, in the world. But it's not for me. But when they started, like, adding all this, like, identity politics shit into it that no one asked for, and they were doing it when Matt Smith, even David Tennant was there. It was probably a little bit of that. But I know for sure they were doing it when Matt Smith was there and when Torchwood came out. Yes, I watched it. No, I was not impressed. That's what I think. So their hatred is insatiable. Yes. Lola will choose a heterosexual bear over a homosexual man. Yes, there you go. Anyway, so this is in that picture. Nkuti looks like a sympathetic, likable person. He looks like he's trying to do that that Cisco thing, you know, that thong. That's what I think of. And whenever I see somebody like a black dude and they bleach their hair like that, I immediately go to Cisco. Not the Cisco from Star Trek. That guy's the shit. I wouldn't even eat you. All right. So, what else? Oh, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. Okay, so let me switch back. This is also about ESG. And I'm going to go to a clip. So there's this woman. She's a footballer. That's soccer for Europeans. And she is talking with a guy about DEI. It's called Most Insane Woke Argument About Racism and Eni Aluko, Heretics 49. So let's play some of this.
My issue with anti-DEI discourse is that the starting point is extremely racist.
3% of the UK population are black, and 8.1% of TV characters on screen are black. Is the assumption then that black people are just 2.5 times better?
Maybe. You have to talk about your own experience. I have to talk about my own experience.
I'm talking about facts.
No,
I'm talking about 2.5
no,
times.
No. What you've done is you've highlighted...
Some black people are there, not necessarily because of talent. And the proof of that is the percentages. Unless black people are just better.
But some white people have been given opportunities without...
20, 30 years ago, yes.
I mean, let's talk about... Well, no, you can't say that.
But I can because of the stats.
No, maybe they're just the best.
Right, well then I agree with you. And let's all scrap the policies then. Let's go around to the audio production. Let's go to the TV, scrap the policies.
Andrew, you're being facetious now. But you say that from a place of privilege. Because...
Well, hang on, but you're the Sky Sports presenter, and I'm not allowed to sign things in bookshops.
Well, but I've earned it.
We both earned it, but
Right.
you got the job, and I didn't, and I had to do all this myself, and that's because of our skin colour. So, and yet you're calling me the privileged one.
I think it's very racist to assume that. It's extremely racist, and if there's one thing I can say on this podcast.
All right. When I see a black guy with short bleach hair, I think of Simon Phoenix. Oh, that's good too, yeah. So, I'm gonna lower this a little bit. I don't know why there's like metal shit playing in the background. So, this is a channel called Heretics, obviously. And the host of the show is talking with this female footballer. And they're talking about DEI. Now, apparently... this woman is like a very competent player. She's like the top of her game in that particular arena, yet she thinks that she needs DEI. And I think that's crazy. Crazy, dude. You know what I mean? I think it's crazy. Hold on a second. Let's see what's going on with my arcade machine here. Maybe I need to refresh it or something. Somebody send the arcade machine another message. I don't know why it's like doing that. Sorry, just a moment. Oh, right. I made it blink. Well, I don't know. Try sending her another message. I want to see if it resets, because the eyes are not supposed to be closed, and it's kind of bothering me. So anyway, here we go with the privilege, yeah. So she, you know what? I'll let her talk.
So Eni Aluko is a former amazing footballer, which is soccer player for Americans who don't, soccer player. And she's on the show, right, she had some public disputes with a former guest of mine, Joey Barton, who is an interesting character, and a friend of mine now, as I was telling you before, but you can be as well. But you've had these arguments and things, and then you said, hey, you know, I want to get
The Great Indoors 1979. Haha.
So we're going to talk about diversity.
Please, I'm as cool as a cucumber.
Debate a few things.
Maybe they're the ones who need to chill out with all that attitude.
I watched.
Oh yeah, look, she's fine now. I don't get it. It was like a bug or something.
A video that you shared with Gabby Logan about British sport being too white.
Thanks, guys.
So where do you stand on even just, and this wasn't your type, you didn't write that, like it said too white, saying things like too white, isn't that offensive to white people? Couldn't they have said not diverse enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can talk about semantics of language, and if that, you know, if white people are offended by that, then I respect that. But the reality is that the issue beyond, you know, the articulation of the words is that sport, I believe, should be a diverse representation of talented people, and talent is colorblind. You know, talent is representative of all walks of life. So if you're seeing sport where talent
Runes loads a complete
Stupid
complete
ads.
serving of fruits, veggies,
Hold on.
adaptogens, vitamins, minerals, super mushroom.
is
All right, I'm pausing it there for a moment. Okay. You cannot have the most talented people and have it be diverse at the same time, because it may not shake out exactly the way you hoped. If diverse is the goal, then talent can't be the goal. It's one or the other. I mean, I would prefer that you just go with the best people. But if the best people all tend to look like they're, you know, they're similar in terms of like their diversity, whatever the hell that means, you can't get upset about that. But she's saying, I think it should look like this. It should look diverse and talented. It should be colorblind but diverse, which is the opposite. She's trying to make two contradictory things work together. And she thinks that's completely normal.
representative of all walks of life, not representing people, you've got to question why that is, right? Whether it's, you know, the recruitment bias, whether it's the institutional setups that don't allow certain people in who are talented. The starting point, particularly in a country like the UK, which is undeniably diverse, should be diversity. So, you know, whether it's too white, not diverse enough, I think it says the same thing. And ultimately, the issue is the issue of diversity.
So again, she has okay. She said that there could be obstacles for people of different backgrounds. And I think this gets to the root of the problem. And she is she is a DEI hire, or DEI exists, but she is good at her job too. So she's trying to make both of these things work together. She probably could just get rid of DEI and she would probably still have the job. But she believes that DEI is the only reason why she has the job, because she believes that the Britain is systemically racist and sexist. Therefore, they wouldn't do it for her even if she was the best, because the white man wants to keep her down. And that's the thing about these people. They think that DEI is how you level the playing field, because they assume that without it, the white man, the cis-het white capitalist Christian patriarchy, is going to prevent anyone outside of that little box from ever succeeding. Which is crazy, because if that was true, she wouldn't be able to talk about it on this show right now.
In that very video, it said that 23% of athletes who are playing are not white, so or BAME as we say in the UK. What is that? Black, Asian, minority ethnic, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, 23%, and that 18% are BAME in the general population. So I was watching that video, sort of trying to think, so what's the problem here? Because there are actually there's more diversity in football than in the general population.
What was the video saying? There was a problem. Were they talking about football?
It was this big report that you'd shared, and it was with Gabby Logan, and it was just football, and it was the players, and it was 23% are BAME in the game, and 18%. They didn't say 18%. They didn't say that part, but 18% in the general population.
It was my understanding from that podcast was addressing other sports, because I think I said on the podcast that actually football is very diverse, and actually the issue is not at pitch level for football.
Isn't it funny that she says football is very diverse, like satisfactorily diverse, but he said that statistically it's actually disproportionate. So that like there are more BAME, whatever the hell that means. I mean, I know what it means, but I'm kind of like really annoyed with the fact that we're even having this discussion. Like where we're counting the skin color people and the gender of people. But anyway,
and I can only speak about football as somebody who works in the game, but I said on that podcast that football actually is an example of brilliant diversity, and I think our England men's team is. The problem is actually why that doesn't translate to the boardroom, right? So why is there, as you said, I think it's actually like 34% diversity in terms of football, but it's very, very, very limited in the boardroom. So that the issue was why there's not a translation of diversity in the boardroom. And I mentioned that, well, it's because of gatekeeping. It's because of, a lot of the money and decision making is in boardrooms, and ultimately that's where gatekeeping kicks in. That's where athletes traditionally are not seen as part of those decisions. And I would encourage people to and clubs to actually bring athletes on board in that decision making process and diversify boardrooms.
You're right that it was sports, not just football. You're right.
Yeah,
it was
sport,
a thing about
pretty
sports.
sure.
In the boardroom in sports, it's 17% are BAME, and as opposed to 18% of the general population. So that surprised me. To me, that seems pretty fair as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think with sport as well, you've got to talk about sort of cultural norms and cultural background, right? So typically, sports like tennis and cricket are probably more expensive, from people from low socioeconomic backgrounds, because they're in different areas or you need certain equipment. So I think that factors into it as well. I don't think it's all just gatekeeping and racism, and I think there's many reasons why there's not as much diversity in certain sports. I think it's too reductive to say, well, because football has 34% diversity, then cricket should too. Like, I think they're two different social there's the socioeconomic factors that I think are very different for both sports. 100%. And I think you can go say the same for tennis and swimming and netball and lots of so I think the importance for me is saying talent should never be restricted from opportunity, right? So whether that's two people who are from diverse backgrounds who really should be more ahead than they are, or whether it's 10 people, it doesn't really matter.
How do we know if someone is behind? How do we know? How do we measure that? You're just saying that they're not where they should be, but where is that? How do they know? What does opportunity mean? You want to this is the thing about equality as a concept. It's bullshit. It's bullshit, period. Because nobody measures equality of opportunity without looking at outcomes as the bar of measuring. So it always becomes equality of outcome, inevitably. So there's no such thing as, oh, do you believe in equality of opportunity? No, I don't. I believe in letting people figure it out. You could have somebody that could be really talented, but they're just lazy and they don't want to do it. Does that mean that they have to be engineered to do it, to want to not be lazy? Or do we no, obviously that's not going to be it. We have to take away from everybody else. All right, so I just want to watch one more section. Why do we need DEI? I know it gets heated here. Racism battle for England. Ugh.
As long as talent is allowed to be given the opportunity to express,
because this DEI stuff is obviously everywhere.
That's what's important.
So then why?
So we should understand why it exists.
Policies, because presumably, maybe not at the board level, but in sports itself, people are going to pick people they want to win the game, right? You don't care if the person's orange or pink or from the planet Mars. You just want to win. When my understanding with DEI is that if you are going to favor someone purely because of something like skin color, that means they might not be the most talented, the best for the job. You're going more on skin color.
Well, you're not. DEI policies are not about skin color. DEI is about giving people who have talent the opportunity to express that talent. So
without DEI, they wouldn't have the opportunity, is what she's assuming. So you see what the implication is. This whole thing comes from, and this is in every place where it's used. So not just in sports in the UK, as in the video example here, but everywhere that DEI is implemented, operates under the presumption that without it, people would be held back purely based on their identity, because the system itself is racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever. And so DEI is to them a safety measure against systemic systems. And this is why they defend it so fervently. So even though he says, well, look, if they're really good and we just let them in, what's the problem? And she's like, no, because they're not going to get the time of day because you hate women and black people.
my issue with DEI and sort of anti-DEI discourse is that the starting point is extremely racist, frankly, because what you're saying is, well, because you're not white, you have to question whether you have the required skill, A, and B, you can't possibly be the best.
Well, you could be the best and then you'll just get the job, presumably.
No, but if you are getting the job, the assumption should be that you're the best.
Yeah, and it would be if it weren't for DEI policies. Now people assume you got it because of DEI policies.
But DEI policies, what DEI policies are we talking about? So again, I can only talk about my own industry, right?
Why can't she see this? Is Annie South African? She's from Nigeria, but she lives in the UK. But so she doesn't see it. She's saying that people who question, like, if you question somebody's worth because DEI policies exist, you're the racist. So if you're like, well, how'd you get this job? And this is what they do. They do believe this. They do. When the bridge fell in Baltimore, the bridge collapsed in Baltimore, the mayor came out in a hoodie for some reason and basically said that people were being racist because they called him a DEI mayor. But what we're saying is a bridge fell and you're clearly incompetent. So how'd you get the job? Now, he could have been elected and that would say something about the voter base, because look, Brandon Johnson was elected in Chicago and that place is a hellhole too. And I know they voted for him because he was black. That was the only reason. They were like, we want a black mayor. Okay. I wouldn't call it a DEI mayor, but it's sort of similar in a way, because if he got elected on the basis of his skin color, it's like someone getting a job on the basis of their skin color. So what's the difference? And so what she's saying is, even if you have talent, you need DEI. But this guy is saying, but if you're the best, then you're just going to get the job. And she is good at her job. So she's not even, like, her position, according to this guy, I don't really know her, but her position is not being called into question by him, right? He's saying you are good at what you do. So why do we need DEI? So she wants both. She thinks that she should have her cake and eat it too. And that she should not wonder if the DEI gave her the job, when it obviously does for other people. That's the whole reason for it.
So a slur that gets leveled at me a lot, and it's always by white people, is you're only in the job because you're black. you tick a box, right? That is fundamentally what I see daily, right? Forgetting.
Yeah, well, because you do. Like, it's not, and of course she's saying, I see white people doing this. You know, whenever these people say, I see X black category doing Y, they're saying that the act of doing Y is bad based on the black category X. So white men, white people, men, breeders, whatever. When they do that, when they say, I see this coming from here, they're trying to tell you, do not co-sign on this perspective because the black category supports this perspective.
That I have probably been the best in my peer group from 4 years old when I played with white boys on my local estate through to doing GCSEs and getting fantastic grades, through to going to university and finishing the top of my graduating class as a lawyer and one of the most diverse universities, Brunel, in the country, through to playing for England and being one of 12 people who've gone over 100 caps, through to playing for Chelsea and Juventus, some of the biggest clubs in the world. And I'm not sitting there bragging, that's just facts, right?
That's facts.
Now, I'm a living, walking, breathing example of the fact that a black woman can be the best.
Yeah.
Humble brag much? Yes, you're good at what you do. You're literally making the case against DEI. You're making the case against it right now. You're saying that, of course, another difference here is that normal people that have a healthy brain can look at her and say, well, she did all that because she was really good at what she did. She worked hard. She trained hard. You know, she accomplished the goals. It's all based in merit. She pulled it off. It's got nothing to do with her being a woman. Got nothing to do with her being black. It's just she's good and she did it. But her thought is essentially, I did all of this despite all of the racist shit I have to put up with. All of the sexist shit I have to put up with. So she's already coming at this as an extreme underdog. So she has to somehow validate her status as an underdog that succeeds anyway. And it does make for a more heroic story, but it's not true. She's not facing all those obstacles that she thinks she's facing. It's just not happening. People are rolling out the red carpet, basically. And DEI is like it's like having children throw like rose petals on the carpet as you come across it. Like it doesn't serve any purpose. It's just more security for you so you can feel secure, but it does the opposite, because now you're thinking anyone who thinks that I didn't get here on my own is a racist. But those people that you think are racist are literally saying, can we not have this system here that does this? Because it will bring in people who are unqualified doing the job. This is what's happening in game development, in film, in television, etc. Right? You have people that are unqualified getting jobs based on their identity, and they're destroying art, essentially.
One of the best in her peer group, right? So when I get a job ahead of a white man who's typically, the world's been built for that privilege, I can only point to the fact that I'm getting the job because of all those things I've just mentioned.
Because of your talents,
right?
So I think we're agreeing though. Because
No. What? And where I entirely disagree.
The world's been built for white guys. Did you know that?
Well, the DEI policy gave you the job. There is no DEI policy.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the reason people assume that, perhaps wrongly, because you're right, you're extremely well qualified, is because we have this DEI stuff. If we just got rid of it, I think you would have this job anyway, and no one would be accusing you of it.
But that I think that's a false and dangerous assumption that I would get the job anyway. That's just not the case.
Without DEI.
Because the world's racist, guys. Even though she's good, people be like, "Oh, black woman, no way."
well, I haven't got the job. I haven't got the job because of DEI. In broadcasting, for example, no broadcaster has any laws or quota system that they need to abide by. It's a myth. No government, no police, no anyone has said you have to hire X amount of black women, you have to hire X amount of black men. No one said that, right? So ultimately, they're picking me because they want to pick me.
I agree with that.
Right? So
Again, like how do you, this is cognitive dissonance. Like, you can't hold these two thoughts in your head at the same time. You can't say we need DEI and also say, but I don't need DEI. And then also say, but if we took DEI away, I might not be sitting here right now talking to you.
this is where there is no DEI policy. In my industry,
Okay.
in broadcasting, despite me having the accusation leveled at me constantly that I'm only in the job because of DEI, there is no policy.
Look, I just want to make clear, I don't think you're in the job just because of DEI.
No,
I
no,
think
no,
you're in it
I
because
know.
you're talented.
I know.
And you're one of
She
the
wants to
talented
accuse him
as
of being
well.
And one
racist
of the
anyway,
reasons
though.
why I came on this podcast is to have this conversation, right? Because we need to sort of debunk these assumptions that are really dangerous assumptions, and they're really racist assumptions.
Why are they
I
dangerous?
feel like you're
What,
saying
what,
there's no,
what are you talking about?
There isn't a DEI policy, but also you're defending DEI.
Yeah, I'm defending DEI to the extent that very, very talented, excellent people are not white.
Yeah, of course.
So if very, very talented, excellent people are not white, they need to be given the opportunity, as have all the hundreds of years of white men been given the opportunity, to show that.
I suppose is it fair to say that you're saying that I'm maybe being a bit naive when I say you would have had this job anyway if we
I
weren't
think you're
going
being. I think that's extremely naive, because the reality is, Andrew, I have to be excellent to get the job.
Oh my God.
Because the
more
world
humble
has been
bragging
set up
coming.
for me not to get the job. The world has been built for someone like me as a black woman against a world that's actually been built on the patriarchy and privilege for white men. I'm not meant to be where I'm at.
I think,
So I've had to be, and I've just explained to you, like, for my life, I've been one of the best in my peer group, right?
Yeah.
So I've had to be that, and I actually have to work doubly hard, right? So when I turn up to do a show, and I'm next to, I don't know, Roy Keane and Gary Neville,
Micah Richards,
John
Barnes.
you know, these guys.
Yep.
I can't just rock up on the basis that I'm Enya Luko that played football. I have to do more. Just to speak on the same level, right? That doesn't mean I won't make mistakes as they do, but I have to do more research. I have to be more prepared, because the bar and the expectation for me is higher, because they're like, who's she? Right?
I do agree that you're going to get more shit. I would like to, maybe it's naive of me, I would say because you're a woman.
I wish this guy would stop pandering to this woman. I think he's trying to push back, but he doesn't want to piss her off, so he's kind of dancing around this. This woman, and look, this is not a rare mindset. This is very common. This is the thing that I'm trying to, like, get people to see. This woman's perspective on the way she thinks she's being treated by the world, no matter how well she does, no matter how much success she enjoys, it will color everything. And she is not going to be happy, because she's going to think of herself constantly under the thumb of a patriarchal system. Let me put JoJo on there. JoJo. Right? And so this means that no matter what she does, she needs DEI. She needs people to, like, she needs people to dance around her, to walk on eggshells, to not upset her. She needs people to accept that the system is racist and all these other things. That is literally the purpose of it. Oprah, great example of DEI doing his thing back in the 80s. Yeah, people are terrified of making black women mad. Yeah. But anyway, they keep talking in circles. If you guys want, I can play more of this later, like maybe do another stream on it. They do get into a bit of an argument because he's basically saying that meritocracy is king, and if she has it, there's no problem. But she's saying that there's no way, because she thinks that, okay, it's ultimately projection. Ultimately, it's projection. Because if she was in charge of like an industry, she would favor her own people and she would exclude white men. Full stop. We know that to be true. She would exclude them because this has happened. This is what happened in animation. This is what's happened in gaming to some degree. This is what's happening in every industry because women in particular are entering these industries with a chip on their shoulder because they're certain that if they don't get rid of the men that work there, the men are going to make their life a living hell. And so they have to assume that they have to assume that they have to like essentially do unto others before it is done unto them. And so they're going to give those guys a living hell. They're going to kick them out. They're going to get them fired from their jobs. They're going to accuse them of stuff, whatever it takes. Because if they don't do it, then they're going to suffer. So they have to like take the initiative. They have to get ahead of the ball, and they have to make the men suffer. And that's what they do. And I think that if she ran this industry, this sport or whatever, if she was in charge, white guys wouldn't get jobs. So because she knows that she would do that to other people, she assumes that it's being done to her right now. And it's only because of how awesome she is that she manages to keep this job. And this is a mentality we have to shatter. And I really have to figure out how to do that. I'm not sure how to do it, but there's got to be a way to break this delusion, because it is a delusion that women have and wokies have. It's kind of pathetic, honestly. I think that's all I got for today. My throat is killing me, so I think I'm going to stop. Just a moment here. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. Ugh. All right. Anyway, but I'm gonna end the show there. I gotta get ready because I got another show later on today over on Badger Live Streams. I don't know how I'm gonna do on that. I feel like crap, but maybe you'll join us. So thank you for coming on the show and hanging out with me on the stream. Let me know what you guys think about what I talked about today. If you're watching this on vertical, leave me a comment there. I'd like to see what it looks like. I'm curious about how it turned out. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications. Leave me a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what I talked about on the show today. And please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's show, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye.
Are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.